Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about the 7 mistakes you might make when starting a fall garden, or when even planting a fall garden. It's that time of year, fall is just around the corner, the weather's cooling off, the days are getting shorter, and some of you have planted a fall garden and some of you are just getting ready to. So the first mistake you might make when starting a fall garden is planting the wrong type of crops. There are cool season crops, there are warm season crops. The warm season crops are just now kind of fading out. Some climates might have them for another month or two, but for the most part, warm seasons start to be grown from like spring through summer, and they start petering out in fall. So do not plant corn, winter squash, summer squash, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, all those things that love warm weather, because the warm weather, even though it might be here today, which it's not here, but where you are, in a couple of weeks, it's definitely not going to be where they need to be. So what you want to plant at this time of year are brassicas. Now, this is for people who do not have hard freezes in the winter. Brassicas can take a lot of frost. They can take temperatures pretty cold. They cannot take a freeze. So if you live in a place where it freezes, you'll want to wait to plant these in the early spring. But for the rest of you, any of the brassicas right now, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, kohlrabi, broccoli, the Asian greens, those can all go in the ground now if you live in a fairly mild winter. Quick growing crops that can go in right now, no matter where you live: lettuces, kale, radishes, carrots, smaller carrots, leaf lettuce for sure if you get freezes, lots of frost, kale, Swiss chard, peas, any of the cool season crops. In some places you can plant potatoes right now. Here, if you have a mild winter, you can plant them now. If you have frost, you'll want to wait until spring. Garlic can go in right now. If you live in a place where it gets really cold in the winter, I'd get it in now. You can get it in any time before the ground freezes. And if it starts to sprout or come up or even grow several inches and then gets killed with a frost, it's okay. It may not be killed, it might be covered with snow. It will still live. It will come back in the spring when it's supposed to. If you live in a milder winter climate, plant that a little bit later, maybe October, November. That's the proper time to plant garlic in those types of climates. Same with onions. If you live in a mild winter, you can plant them coming up here pretty soon. If you don't, go ahead and wait until spring. All right, so now you know what to grow, what not to grow. The next mistake you might make is not planning for the change in light during the winter. You know, a place right now that's full sun, or that was full sun last month, might be in full shade come December. You know, the shadows get longer as the sun gets lower toward the horizon in the wintertime. So if you're on a new property and don't know where the sun lands, then pay attention this winter. Kind of make a map, draw it out, show how far that shadow comes, like right around December 22nd, the winter solstice. You want to see the furthest that those shadows come, and then you'll know from there on out, every single fall, winter, you'll know where you can plant things and where you can't. Now the good news is that a lot of cool season crops can take a lot more shade than summer crops because they grow in the winter and there's typically more shade in the winter. Now, cool season crops that actually don't mind a little bit of shade, lettuces, cilantro, a lot of the greens. If you're planting garlic now to actually grow in the springtime, then you can plant it where there's some shade right now, but there will be sun, come March or April. Same thing with onions. I grew successfully. In fact, one of my most successful years with broccoli, it only got about 4 hours of direct sun throughout the winter. So just keep those things in mind. So one of the big things you have to look for in the spring is your last frost date. That's when you can put things out safely into the garden, and then they can grow for spring and summer. In the fall, you want to look at your first frost date. You can just Google this, your town, your zip code, and first frost date, and it's going to tell you approximately when that's going to be. And so you want to look on the seed packets and count back. So if it says, you've got 8 weeks until your first frost, then you want to look at the seed packet and see what it says for seed to harvest. That's how much time it's going to take to mature, and so you can harvest it. So just make sure that whatever that number is on the seed packet, you still have that amount of time in your before your first frost date. Like I've already said, it's not quite as crucial for cool season crops because a lot of them can take frost. So you want to make sure that really most of your crops will produce before your first freeze, which could be near your first frost or it could be a couple months later. You also want to know if you're planting in the fall that when you're planting your crops in the springtime, not only is it getting lighter longer, it's getting warmer. The exact opposite thing is happening now. The days are getting shorter, there's less sunlight, and it's getting cooler. So you do want to add a couple of weeks onto whatever it says on the seed packet, because that seed packet was written for spring planting, not for fall planting. So just make sure you take note of that. Now, kind of going along that same line is you can extend the season on your bed. If you have frost coming up, you can extend that season by a month, maybe 2 months, maybe throughout the winter if you just get frosts here and there, by protecting the crops with either floating row covers, fleece. You can make small low tunnels over your beds with fleece or plastic, and that's just going to keep the temperature in there just a little bit warmer than the outside air. So if you get down to 0 minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, then that's probably not going to help at all for any of the plants you want to grow. But if you're hovering around, freezing, maybe 32, maybe even in the 20s, that's going to help a lot. But if you protect your crops from the cold, you extend your season, and you can push that first frost date off, again, by weeks or even a couple of months. The next mistake is not doing a fall garden. Now, if your frost date is coming this next, within 3 or 4 weeks, okay, well, you maybe missed it this year. Tuck this information away for next year and get on it a little bit earlier. But if you can grow for the next 3 months or all the way through the winter, definitely do it. So many people, garden centers and the big box stores, they don't market for fall gardening. They market for spring gardening. That's when everything is pushed. That's when all the seeds are out, the transplants. They've got specials and sales. The thing is, though, fall gardening is so much easier. It's so much more pleasant. It's more pleasant to be outside. It's more pleasant because you're not fighting off bugs and drought and heat. The plants kind of get by almost on their own. I might have some aphids here and there. I can shoot those off with a squirt of water. But the pest pressure, just all the things we don't like and we get sick of by about August, none of those things are in your fall and winter garden. So if you've never done it before, please give it a shot. I think you'll be impressed with how much easier it is. The last mistake is to not prepare your beds for the upcoming season. Be it fall gardening, or if you're not doing fall gardening or can't do fall gardening, not preparing your beds for next spring. Now is the time to do that, not next spring. I'm going to put a link down below to a video that's going to show you 2 different ways to do it. If you live in a mild climate, whether or not you are planting in the fall, and if you live in cold winter climates, what you need to do right now to have everything perfect for spring planting. Okay, I think I've covered everything. Good luck, and I'll see you next time.